the O&M, the increase in the chemicals, and the increase in the utilities there. So in number one, the actual cost of the water would be about 22 cents an HCF added to the 56 is 78. Because we would have 6,961 acre feet, or 3,028,000 plus HCF, at a cost of $565,766, if I'm correct. That gave us the potential to possibly sell some water to another district, as much as, if the board agreed, 4,000 acre feet. And I did some calculations, rough calculations, with the potential profit of between 60 and 68,000. It would still leave the district of the customers 2,961 acre feet of water, which would give us 400 acre feet beyond our bottom estimate. So we should be able to meet the needs of the district. Then there was scenario number two, where the percentages started to drop down. I was under the impression that at 35 and 75, if I dropped 5, then the domestic government dropped 5. I didn't know that it kicked in at 25. So my numbers are a little bit off on that. I came up with 3 various scenarios of whether we could sell water. Well, if we got down to where we only had a small amount of MI and a small amount of ag, and we purchased McConnell and we used the 200 well, we'd still have approximately 3,136 acre feet, and we'd sell no water. And then that would be approximately 83 cents per HCF. And so it varies. So to have that, I also indicated that we have potentially, and we discussed with some of the board members, some of the committee, the possibility of purchasing 500 acre feet from McConnell. The cost would be $125,000. If we went ahead and purchased a full 1,000 acre feet like Bella Vista did, that's $250,000. In the line item in our accounts, we have $112,765 in collected penalties from last year. And if we applied that to the McConnell water, the difference is less than $13,000. And we could possibly purchase the 500 acre feet and not have an impact in the cost to customers, since the penalties were instituted as an excess usage. We might be able to make that used for improving the situation for our customers. The last thing were the various factors. The snowpack up here in Northern California, 136% of average. Lake levels, we know they're low. We also know that there's a storm due in tomorrow, and according to local forecast, it's low snow levels, 500 feet or less, and 48 inches of snow in Redding. The weathercaster indicated that it was going to be more snow than on the February 28th one, where I got close to 9 inches just down the street. So the potential's there. Does it happen? I don't know. But following that are the atmospheric rivers, where the snow level rises to 5,000 to 6,000 feet, which means if we get 2 to 4 inches of rain, a lot of that snow is going to melt, running into the reservoirs, both Trinity and Shaft, and filling them up some, but there won't be the snow reserves for later, unless, of course, some of the later storms where the snow level begins to drop down to 3,500, 4,000 feet, where you recoup some of that. So, to our general manager's point, it's almost a crapshoot right now. We have some known unknowns, and how do we deal with it? We have some best case scenarios. If they give us everything, we don't purchase any McConnell water, we could help build our reserves a little bit, or put, if we sell some, into O&M projects at the filtration plant. I think we should bring up real quick Mr. Paul-Mesa's concerns about high flow rates going through the filtration plant this year. There's been very low rates in the past few years, and there's a number of issues with the aging water treatment plant. He's concerned of breakdowns because of the aging and the lack of use. So we have that potential difficulty in there. And having sold some water to put into some O&M projects might really benefit us. Those are some of the scenarios that we can discuss, get input from the community and how they feel.
So a few of my concerns is that if we purchase any McConnell water at $2.50 an acre feet, and then we turn around and try to sell it to Orland Artois, they're gonna wanna buy it at the cheap rate and not the more expensive rate. So that puts that added cost onto the customers. And that was a couple of years ago that Sandy had said, I remember when the district paid more for the water, and we sold it for less.
That was incorrect. That was incorrect.
How was that? I'm sorry.
So
Sorry.
if that's exactly what this scenario would be, Erwin. That's exactly what, if we buy $250 an acre foot water, and if we sell it to Orland Artois, we're not gonna be selling McConnell 250 water. We might sell it for 75 or 100 acre feet for water, but they're not gonna purchase the 250. So in essence, what she said, whether she was correct years ago or not, that scenario would absolutely be correct this time around.
I'd like to ask a question if I can.
Go right ahead.
Erwin, the district sold water to Orland Artois a number of years ago.
Mhm.
Do you know what the profit per acre foot was? Was it $10, $15, $20?
The profit was minimal,
Okay,
but the costs were taken care of. Number one, we had to sell at the rate that the Bureau charges. We put a transfer amount on there,
right.
based upon what the Bureau told us we needed to do. And then we put a little bit more on there for our costs.
Can you give us an idea of how much that was?
I don't know what that was.
Okay.
But
In my
it's back in
calculations,
the records.
what I did, rough calculations, I figured in the cost of the ag water, or the irrigation water, because that's the only one we can transfer. And that's at $51.90, including the Trinity PUD per acre foot. I then added on an administrative portion, a few dollars, and I did two scenarios at $15 an acre foot or $17 as basically a profit for us. Because, originally I was hoping like 75, and that was way out of rate. So I kind of went
That's
back.
about what we charge.
So you're thinking we might be able to make 15 to 17 an acre foot if we
Well,
chose to
here's
sell
the
it.
thing, if we decide to buy 500 acre feet of McConnell water, we got a $125,000 bill sit there us in the face. If we get down the line, we want to sell some water, we ought to sell the $250 water.
They're not gonna buy
They
200.
will buy, because they buy through
If
a
they need
co-op.
it, they'll buy it.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
Go ahead.
through the chair, first of all, to the conversation, I don't think we can transfer, and I don't think it would be good policy to transfer $250 water out of the district. But the other thing is,
It does say so in the contract that you can do that with their approval.
With their approval,
Yeah.
correct.
but I think the reality is that if we get to a point to where we have the allocation stay, what we preliminarily have, the districts to the south of us are going to be interested in irrigation water purchase, and they're going to be interested in it not because they need more water, because they haven't been allocated enough, but because they need to replenish their groundwater basins, their storage, or whatever other things they may be looking to put. So I think the district is going to have to consider that you're not going to be in that situation. You're not going to recoup all of your costs of, let's say, 500 or 1,000 or 800 acre feet of McConnell water, but you will be able to get some of your costs back in, or whatever else it may be. So I don't know this for sure, but I think we would be looking at a certain amount of irrigation water. There will be a Bureau imposed transfer fee that they would ask us to put on it. And then there's anywhere, from what I've been told, and again, the current market may be different, but to be more looking at $15 to $25 worth of additional amount that you might be able to get to put into your reserves, to put into your capital,
Right.
or to pay for things. And again, I think, as the director has mentioned, that we do have in this current fiscal year an amount of money from penalties and fines. And if we want to make some decision, when we have a meeting next week about our budget, if the board wants to decide to say, hey, let's set that aside and use that to cover some of the costs of purchasing water, that is definitely something that we can consider. But I don't think you can, again, hard to know, but I don't think our districts to the south of us are gonna say, oh yeah, we want that 250 water, we're gonna want that.
Oh, yeah,
No,
they're
not gonna-
they're gonna want cheaper water.
Just because they're gonna be in the same situation we are, they're gonna have
A bigger.
a 35% irrigation allocation, and so they may not need it.
So one of the other things that I wanted to look at is one of the examples that you gave, is that if we did get 55% of our M&I and 5% of irrigation, we're looking at a total of 1,700, almost 1,800 acre feet of water combined, and that's exactly what we used last year, and we can pull well water if we had to. Because I think that was a comment that Bill made, was that we're gonna have to run some stuff through the well, so we're gonna be pulling some well water regardless. So when I look at those numbers, I can't see how we can, 2 years ago, we were all up in arms because the board chose to sit and wait. And sitting and waiting was not the right choice at that time, based upon the numbers that the Bureau originally gave us. This time around, the numbers are pretty darn good. They're much, much better than what was forecasted two years ago. One of the things, because the audience has been a little bit small, on Monday I called people and I asked. So I called 17 people. 75% of the people that I spoke to were against buying McConnell water. There were 4 that were for it. So just to get an idea of a feel from the community, because we were upset 2 years ago and we had nothing but well water to use. And that is the frightening aspect. What will the Bureau do? And it's like they've got you, And so we don't, based on, that video we saw and what the atmospheric river and the Pineapple Express that's coming, what do we base it on? And
That's why I was bringing in some of those other possibilities at the bottom there. What if a lot of the snowpack melts? Yeah, we got the water in the reservoirs, but they may release some of that if we get up to, like 92% or whatever in Shasta, they're gonna wanna release it. And it won't be there for us.
Just for the sake of example here, if we buy the McConnell water, that McConnell water costs $1.13 for 100 cubic feet.
Before the
That's
filtration
it.
plant.
That's it.
No, that's
That's it.
including the
That
filtration, yes.
includes the $250 an acre foot, plus the 56 cents for the
Correct.
running it through the plant. If you do the well water, it's $1.26. Not that much difference.
No.
But just I wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. And I think, just real quick to the chair's comments, well, first of all, welcome to the real world of hard decisions. And I think that is what, we all have to deal with. This is what water managers and boards, water districts, all up and down the state, it's a challenge, right? Because, let's face it, if that atmospheric river goes south and it's dry for the next 6 weeks, which I don't think is going to happen, but if it is,
Going to happen.
those same 20 people are going to be super pissed at us for not being prudent and buying water, right? So again, and then just another real quick thing. Yes, even that 5 and 55, we're right at around 1850-ish. But that's what we delivered, okay? It takes, that 200 acre feet, we need more than that just to get to 1800. In other words, just 10% loss in the system breaks and all the rest of that kind of thing. So just think that, of course, we can make that up with the wells.
The last year, we used a little water because we didn't have any water.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and you talk to people that are doing agriculture around here, they were mad, they couldn't get any water.
We were able
We
though,
got an
if you
opportunity to
remember,
get some water now, that's a
in
good thing.
July, we did bump up allocations from 29 to 40 each year for
Because
M&I,
everybody
and
cut back.
75% to the, their 2019
Because everybody
usage.
cut back,
for
they
irrigation.
didn't have any water.
What's interesting is that 2 years ago, when we only had 453 acre feet,
425.
or 425 from the Bureau, and we had to supplement with our well water, we used 2,400 acre feet. Last year, we purchased 1180 or something like that, 1120 plus 30.
1120.
So, well, 1120, but we got 30
Plus
more
30.
feet from Shasta Lake. So 1150, 11, yeah.
1120, that was it.
No, we purchased 30,
1100 from McConnell.
1120.
And 20 from Shasta Lake.
no,
No.
1120, but,
Yeah.
and 11, and 30. So anyways, but 1150, and then, and supplemented with our well water. And so that was interesting, because everybody's cutting back still. Everybody's, you know, the people that lost all of their stuff 2 years ago aren't putting their pastures back in. They can't afford to. So I don't know that we're ever gonna go back to those high numbers again.
I don't know, you got an agriculturist
Yeah.
out there that left.
I know, so is there
One
any?
of the things though from 2 years ago is we were forced to go through and buy water. We had that contract for 500 acre feet, 1,000 acre feet.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
City
one
already-
was 462 an acre foot, the other was 404,
yeah.
so.
City of Reading Water, who else did we buy from? Bella Vista? Did we buy, no, Nice Landing?
Nice Landing.
Yeah.
Nice
Okay.
through Bella Vista.
Yeah,
To avoid the environmental impact.
yeah, so,
So again, you're right, I mean, that is true, but I do think, this is part of the challenge that we have right now, and some of it is just optics, I mean, it's raining, it's snowing out there, and
Yeah.
one reason why we've got to change our ordinance next week is, currently, we're under ordinance 2201, which says that we're in an emergency water shortage time, and we're at 40 and 75%, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've got to change that, but you look in our own drought policy, again, we'll talk more about that later, but, it has stage 3, 75 and
Right.
45. So, I do think you're gonna see more water usage because there's more available. And,
I hope so.
and then hopefully so. And I think, that's why I'm thinking more than 2,400 is probably what we need to be prepared for, if not more. Again, it's all part of, it's kind of risk mitigation is what we're dealing with here. And again, we'll get to that, but I do think Director Lincoln had a comment,
Yep.
and then we'll get some comments from the public, hopefully, before we go to the next item.
If you look at it like you had mentioned, that it's an insurance policy, and if you buy the 500 acre feet, and then you can sell it, even if you sell it at a cheaper rate, you're bringing down your insurance costs.
Yeah.
So it's, you could, if you did that on your car insurance, you'd think it was great. So, and that's the way I think we should look at this, is it's an insurance policy against running out of water.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I think it definitely is kind of the way we're looking at it. And again, I think we should consider as a district, looking at Bella Vista's model. One of the things they did purchase 1,000 acre feet. They do look at it really as an insurance policy. They know they're taking a risk, but the district mitigates that risk a little bit because they have a subscription program in which they have their agricultural.
Supplemental water program.
Yes, I'm sorry, supplemental water program. And we should consider maybe doing that for the future as a way to mitigate some of our risks if we want to do something like that. But it really is that, and it's like, I get breaks on my car insurance at the end of the year because I didn't use it, but it doesn't mean I didn't have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it is, I think if we are able and we are in a position, I think maybe Director Fuss might remember this, it was in 2016, I think it was 2016, looking back, in which March, and the Bureau came out and actually kind of upped the allocation, I think. And so the board said, all right, we're lifting any restrictions on water purchase, so no longer percentages and all the rest of that stuff. And they directed the general manager to look for a way to find sell water. And that's what precipitated the mitigating some of that insurance cost.
Right.
All right, have public comment. Colleen, could you come to the podium?
So, Colleen Wagaman.
Thank you.
So, I do look at it as an insurance policy. I mean, I was one of those angry people in the crowd screaming at the board because we didn't prepare, okay? So, I mean, it could rain from now till for 2 months and the Bureau is still gonna say we're in a drought. And technically California is still in a drought. We're still trying to come out of this, no matter how much water we get, we're gonna be considered in a drought. And also, I know by experience how the Bureau changes their mind. They change their mind like they change underwear, sorry. But they could come back and say, no, we're not giving you this amount, we're gonna give you this other amount. I mean, it's a great insurance policy. I think it would make everybody feel better. Yes, there's a cost, but we can sell some of that water and recoup some of that cost. And like you said, we do have fines and penalties from last year that can help pay for it. I think it's a good move. I mean, I would sleep better at night, and I'm not even on the board of directors, just knowing that we have that insurance of having that extra water. And if it's available, I think we need to jump on it. They've been patient with us long enough to give us this extra time, and I encourage you to go that route. That's just my opinion.
Anyone else on the floor want to speak? Joanne?
Hi, my name is Joanne Blomquist. I agree with Colleen about the insurance policy aspect. Just recently, the head of the Bureau of Reclamation said that their top priority was the environment. So that worries me quite a bit because we never know what they're going to come up with. And I just feel that we need to purchase the McConnell water, especially if we have penalty money that we can use. I think if we explain to people why we're doing it that way, I think they would be more apt to be in agreement with it, especially if you explain that if we didn't use it, we could sell it and recoup some of our money. So my vote is to purchase McConnell water.
Dennis?
Dennis, I think this water year is different than a couple of years ago. COVID, they were in better shape for rain, and got some more coming. So I don't think that you need to buy water. And then separately, but I did appreciate the numbers. It was very clear, spelled out, what the volumes and the costs and everything. I appreciated that. One thing, though, that I've kind of got a concern on, ethical, is putting penalties on people, cutting back on the water, and then taking that water and selling it. I have a problem with it. That's exactly what the federal government does. They cut us back and they send it down south and south. So I can't see that you can do both. Penalties on people and then sell the extra water. It doesn't make any sense.
What if we address that?
Thank you, Dennis.
That's the next one.
Okay.
Anyone else? Robert, any comments? Come on.
I only use 12 units. I'm nobody.
What about in August?
No, I hardly use any water.
Conservative.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board.
Well, Madam Chair, in some ways, we're still kind of on A, so let's.
Yeah, we are,
let's
still on A.
then
Move on to B.
this was a discussion item,
Just a
but
discussion.
we obviously flowed into B, and, so I think I'll just make a couple of quick comments on that, and then you can take your decision. And I think you've heard some really good points, and I think maybe in defense, maybe what I heard from Director McVeigh, it was using penalties from last year's water allocation to pay for the upcoming year, not necessarily current penalties for current water that you then would sell. So in other words, just a little, maybe it's a difference without a nuance without a difference or whatever.
You'll have to clarify what you meant by that. I didn't understand what
Well,
you said.
We've got 100
And 12,000,
in penalties,
okay,
right,
right,
that we've collected
correct,
based on the 22-23 water.
correct.
I thought I heard, and we can talk about it, that we would kind of set that aside. In other words, instead of using it in our operating, we would kind of designate that, the purchased water for 23, 24.
The board approved that.
But the board would have to make that decision.
No, the board already did so.
We did? When?
The board, a year ago, designated that water to purchase water in the future.
Oh, yes, that's right, they did.
There you go.
And we do have.
So I guess then what you would then need to do if you didn't want to use penalties in the 23-24 year to purchase water that you then go sell. I mean, you're not doing that because that's for the next year penalties.
Right, if we had any, yeah.
All right, so, again, in the context of everything we talked about, originally the district entered into a water purchase agreement, and you can look at my thing here, so there's the number, 1120, of acre feet for that water year. We then did purchase through the city of Shasta Lake another 30 in January. And just, again, it's hard to conceptually see this sometimes, because technically, without those purchases, we couldn't pull a drop out of the Whiskey County Lake, right? Because we had no application. So that was the only way we could pull any water out of it. And just as an aside, we would have been in a Donnybrook with Centerville and trying to figure out, their water versus, well, it's not our water, and you guys are only paying 25% of the cost versus the fact is you're getting 100% of the water. So that was kind of a good one on that one. I've been in conversations with Mr. Swanson, who represents the McConnell Foundation. He sent the contract. It's got 1,000 acre feet in there as a draft. I told him that, I'm making no commitments. The board has to decide on this. And can you give me till the 8th? He says I can give you till the 10th. So the 8th is fine. So that's why that's in there on you. We've talked about all of the risks and everything. I think it's prudent, to do 1,000, maybe 500 might be a better number, 800 or whatever else it might be. I will just mention one other thing too, just another benefit of the insurance. And this is just an opinion of mine, but I think you might understand this. The McConnell water is golden water. There's no restrictions on it. I mean, everybody can get zero allocation, and McConnell has 5,000 acre feet to sell. Not all the districts in Shasta County have a really good relationship with the McConnell Foundation, and we may or may not have had that in the past. And I think having a good relationship with them is beneficial to the district when we're in zero allocation years like we were in the past. And so another element to purchasing some water from them is because I don't know if they're going to sell. I mean, if they're not going to sell all 5,000 acre feet in Shasta County, they'll sell the rest of it elsewhere. But I think there's some element to not only the insurance, but also the relationship stays good, so that I have a saying that have it. I think, I would look for a motion and a number, and, we will change whatever number you want to do in here, and then, we'll work on it.
So no motion yet, let's please have a discussion on the amount, and then we'll open it back up, because we're actually on 6B now, so if there's an amount from the customers on
Then
invoice.
you definitely want to go back on that comment.
I'd like to comment, I think what Terry had said about selling the water is a good idea. Because even if you buy it at $250 an acre foot, if you can get something back, it's better than getting nothing back. So I hear what you're saying.
That's a valid point.
Even if we had to sell it at the irrigation rate. Just wanted to mention that.
Any comment? Well, let's discuss the amount. Does somebody have a preference so that we can at least let the public know what we're leaning towards?
If we're gonna purchase, I'm kind of leaning on looking at it from worst-case scenario. You know, if the worst case happened, what's the minimum amount we would need from them? And I think that is 500, because you can round yourself out between that and Bureau water at about 1,800. And then the well production, we know that we produced at least 650 acre feet last year from the wells. We do have that project to upgrade the wells coming up later. They'll be shut down for a while, but there's plenty of time to do any of that if we need to. Yes, it's more expensive, but not that much more than McConnell, because you don't add that 56 cents per HCF to the cost. So I would be leaning towards that 500 if we're going to purchase. I mean, we could say no and get the full allocation that they're telling us, you know, best case, and look like, you know, rock stars, seeing into the future. But by the same token, if we choose not to buy it, and the worst case happens, then we're back to what happened 2 years ago.
No, we're not.
Well, not quite that bad, but you understand what I'm saying.
I do, but
Okay, now, then we're upsetting. So it's almost a no-win scenario, and we have to kind of mitigate it and do what we feel is best for the community.
I'm opening it up to the floor for what you think of our idea of only purchasing 500 acre feet.
We have